starting with our little container practice, all right? So feet are underneath your lungs, and we have our leg container, which I visualize as a giant Pringles can, okay? And you can just start to rock your leg container forward and backwards. I'm just gonna pin me because I've remembered to do that. Okay, and then we have a hip container, which is from your hip crease, okay, to about where on top of your pelvis, all right? And so just slide that back and forth and get that hip container organized on top of the leg container. And next you have your rib cage container. Okay, it goes forward and back, side to side, right? And sometimes I have to kind of move my rib cage into the back space, and then that corrects my containers below. And then you have your throat container and then your head container. And you can't see my head, but just maybe do what I call the chin drawer. So you're gonna stick your chin out and then slide it back. And maybe you feel a nice stretch. I don't know if you could see that, but chin goes forward and then bring it back. So then now bring your fingertip to the top of the crown of your head and just gently tap on the crown of your head and lift yourself up into that tapping. So you have this awareness of the crown of your head, okay? And let's just start with our feet parallel, and go ahead, start to bend your knees so they track over your toes, and then lift your heels, and then straighten the knees and lower the heels down, okay? So keeping the containers nice and stacked, lift the heels, and just like you were on a piece of equipment with spring, right, you're going to resist the folding of the knees from the back of the knees, lower the heels, and straighten the legs. So my strategy that I've been working with that's very helpful is the sensation of narrowing the pelvis. So you're bringing the right side of your pelvis and the left side of your pelvis together in the center, and then run your abs up the front inside of the spine. Let's do one more like that. So raise the heels, bend from the back of the knee, lower the heels, and straighten. And then we'll reverse. So bend your knees, okay, and the hip container wants to kind of slide off. Lift the heels, top of the head reaches towards the ceiling, lower the heels. Bend the knees, lift the heels, zip up, and lower. Two more. So bend, lift the heels, lengthen through the crown of the head like we had laser beams through the top of our head. So laser beam up to lift you. Great. And now lift your heels and then you'll bring them together, okay? So we just lifted and now we're in a Pilates V, right? And we'll do that same thing. So try and keep your heels together as you lift them, and then the knees bend right over the toes, lower the heels, and then straighten. So the tendency is when you bend your knees to kind of stick your hip container out, right? It's just like you're going down an invisible wall behind you. Two more. Lifting the heels, trying to keep them together. And then you can challenge the depth and the flexion of your knees. Okay, just gentle today in this tender body. And then reverse. So bend the knees without sticking the booty back. Lift your heels. Laser beam lifts you up. Squeeze the inner thighs together. Bend your knees. Lift the heels. Raise. Two more. Okay, all the while narrowing the pelvis, running your abs up the front inside of the spine. Okay, now that we're done with a little bit of balance, I'm going to give you a balance tool. Let's try one more. So there's a focal point, okay, either on your horizon line or a little bit below, right? Lower the heels, and now let's just do heel lifts and lowers, right? And we're in external rotation, so that spiraling of the thighs are going outward, and hopefully you're feeling a little bit of inner thigh work. And then try not to squeeze your glutes as you do this. Good. One more. Keep your heels lifted, squeezing together, and little high end range pulses. So lower your heels just a hair and lift, 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 squeezing them together. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and lower down. Great. Bring your feet back to parallel. All right. And then you'll transfer your weight onto your right leg to pick up your left or whatever, okay? So, and then open your knee out to the side and then bring it back in and lower down, okay? And we'll stick on that same leg, all right? So the more you can focus on balance, right? I'm trying to activate and integrate your inner thigh line. They're called your adductors, okay? And you're trying to keep the rest of your containers absolutely still, right? So the more you can balance on your own, the more it challenges that inseam line, okay? Good, and lower the leg. Now point that foot out in front, point the foot, and spiral it outward. So you're in an external rotation. And then you're gonna lift for 8, 7, 6, 5, really point that toe, 3, 2, 1, and rest. Okay, I'm gonna move my roller to the other side just in case I need it. So starting a bit parallel, let's transfer your weight. And then here, okay, make sure that your containers are still stacked and you're still reaching that laser beam up towards the ceiling, right? And when we do this motion, right, back to your inner thigh line, you have this, it's quite literal, a web of tissue, right, that runs from your inseam of the foot, arch of the foot, all the way up through your inner thighs, through your pelvic floor, okay, and runs down the other side. And your pelvic floor is integrated into your obliques and your low ab tissue, which is connected to your diaphragm, which lives underneath your rib cage. Okay, so breath and pelvic floor, inseam, they're all connected. And I'm trying not to move the rest of my containers. Good. And then stretch that foot out, keep it pointed, and then externally rotate it. So you're going to spiral it outward, and you're going to lift and lower for 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Nice work. Shake it out, shake it out. Okay, so I'm gonna keep the roller handy in case I want to use it. So coming down, actually, maybe I'll use it to get down on the floor. So this is how I teach all my people to get down on the floor, all right? So you can have your roller here for balance. You're gonna reach your back, one foot back behind you, and then really toe dig into the mat. So you're powering up that leg. So the glute is on, your knee is absolutely straight. Okay, take up space and then start to bend your knees, okay, to lower, and then you'll press through that back foot to straighten the legs. Okay, and then we're just warming up. Well, you can hear I'm already like breathing heavy, so I'm pretty warm. Okay, now use that back foot. You can use the roller out in front of you, okay, and you're gonna lower down. Whew. Okay, and then you untuck your foot, bring your other knee down, and you can get onto the floor however need be. So I'm gonna take a block and sit on it, okay? Find a comfortable seat. If you need to have your legs open, fine, great, just great. Okay, so imagine there's a straw inside you, okay? We're gonna take a big inhale, run up through the straw, up through our laser beam, and then on the exhale, you're gonna release tension wherever you're holding it. And again, invitation to close your eyes. Inhale, up the straw, through the crown of the head. Exhale, release tension wherever it's holding. Inhale, through the straw, and exhale. Good. Now this is called, I'm in the middle of doing what's called the Heritage Training Program. Maya has already done this, and a lot of the instructors have completed it. And it's all based off of the work of Kathy Grant. So there's Joseph Pilates, Kathy Grant, and then Kara Reeser, and then me, so, and Maya. So it's a direct lineage from Mr. Pilates, and a lot of these terms might be new and they might be familiar, okay? So this is called subway head. You're just going to Release your head and neck container. Let your shoulders fall forward. Your pelvis container stays where it is. Okay, and then your rib cage container is just maybe like a bendy straw. It's just kind of whoop, and just let your head hang. It's like you're asleep on the subway. Okay, and then it feels really good on the back of my neck, and just to kind of let everything go. And then straw breath to restack through the crown of the head. Good, and we'll do that one more time. Subway head. So you're just kind of hanging forward, right? And I'm going to turn to the side for a second to show you. It's really just like your upper containers are just taking a break from everything. And then straw breath up the front inside of the spine through your laser beam. Good. Invitation to close your eyes, all right, for a little listening head. Okay, so find your laser beam, the crown of your head, and keep your eyes closed. And imagine that someone is whispering something you are very interested in the back right corner of your room, right? So just like the ring of Saturn is around your eye line, you're going to turn your head towards the right, but you're turning it because your ear is listening for something behind your shoulders. And all the rest of your containers are staying still. Oh, and then there's someone whispering over your left shoulder. So you want to take your hearing towards the left. Oh, and then they're talking again in the right corner. So we're just pivoting around, getting a true rotation of, it's called your, your axis. So there's a bone between your skull and when your neck vertebrae start, your cervical spine. Okay. And I think it's called your atlas, actually. So when we rotate one more time, listen over your right shoulder. And you're still having that awareness in the crown of the head. And then over the left. When we turn, sometimes we get kind of a cocky, like a cock turn, where we tilt instead of get true rotation. Great. Bring your arms up towards the ceiling. Okay, you can invitation to keep your eyes closed or flutter them open. My favorite thoracic rotation activity, bring your right hand to your left knee and look over your left shoulder as far as you can. So now you're looking at the people that are whispering. And then you can bring your arms up towards the sky and then turn. Yeah. So by sitting on the block, I'm just giving myself more lift and more space. Okay, we don't have to be on a block, but it just helps me kind of lengthen and then turn to the left. All right, now we're rotating our trunk container, our rib cage container, and seeing how far back over our shoulder we can look. Now, if you're interested in doing a nervous system reset, okay, you're going to look over your left shoulder and close your left eye and look as far as you can with your right eye only. And then bring your arms back up. And when you twist to the right, close your right eye. Hi, kitty. Doggy, Pilates dog. And then left eye looks as far as you can. Do that one more time. Okay, so what we're doing, you're looking the way, you're closing the eye of the way that you're looking, and then seeing how far back you can get the other eye. What we're doing is dispelling PTSD, okay, with this cross body. It's similar to the EMDR work, if you're familiar. Bring your arms back up. Okay, Charlie's Angels, your fingers. And nod your chin and really reach your fingers forward as you stretch your ribcage container back. Okay, so it's like I'm really, like I had a lasso around my chest and it's pulling me towards the back. And then you can do a straw breath to restack. 2 more. Okay, so just, it's kind of a little subway head-ish. And we're just pulling the shoulder blades away from the spine. Inhale, coming back up. Exhale. Just keep breathing. Kathy said that Joseph didn't say inhale here, exhale here. He just said inhale and exhale. And he said, good job, bad job, but didn't tell you what you were doing good or what you were doing bad. All right, so I'm actually gonna take the block out and I'm gonna move the roller out of the way. And this is called barrel sit up. And normally we have a spine corrector like this, but if we don't have a spine corrector, we'll just use the blocks. I'm gonna take out another block here. All right, so if you don't have blocks, totally fine. All right, so hook your thumbs into your elbow pits. All right, I'm gonna have my knees bent. And I'm going back through the crown of my head. I'm shooting my laser beam up and my hip container is changing. All right, so I'm dialing here. And it's not really a roll down, okay, but the blocks will be there to catch you. And then the blocks are there on your mid back if possible. And then you're going to take a little gentle extension, let the head container release. If that's comfortable, you can always bring your hands behind your head, okay? And then come to a straight line with your head and your hips and your spine. And then exhale, the laser beam picks you straight up. Yeah, good, okay? And then the same thing. So curl your tail and try and keep your back as straight as possible, but the hips can keep moving, all right? And I'm like trembling. The blocks are there, and you can take an extension. I forgot to mention, if you don't have blocks, okay, you can use your roller or your squishy ball. So to come back up, it's like you kind of want to, or I do, want to fold, all right? We're trying to keep that same, like you have a helium balloon pulling you up. Okay, let's just do 2 more. So pelvis still gets to dial. So if you're familiar, do your 12 o'clock. Okay? And then the helium balloon is pulling you backwards. And then the blocks will be there to catch me. And I take a nice extension if that feels okay. And then I'm pushing out into my arms with my thumbs. Helium balloon, here's the hard part. Woo! Pulls me up and over. Great. And then just take a forward fold. And see if you could reach for the outsides of your toes. I'm not quite there today, but I'm taking my clock to a 6 o'clock. Right? So I'm reaching my sit bones towards the mat behind me instead of rounding and staying curled. Right? Good. And then let's roll down. I'm going to move the blocks. Okay, and this is where the towel comes in handy. If you're anything like me, roll up and anything rolling is like my nemesis. So I'm going to take my towel and all this does is it brings the floor to my back, all right? So hands can be out in front, behind your head, crossed, whatever, all right? I'm going to make fists. And that same action we just did with the barrel sit up on the block, I'm going to start to roll down. And then my back has that towel to give me that feedback of when I come down onto the mat. Okay, arms come back overhead, lift up, nod your chin, look at your toes first. And then helium balloon picks you up and you're still 12 o'clocking as you come up. And then you can take that 6 o'clock here. So, and then one more. So 12 o'clock. We'll review the clock when we get down on our back here in a minute. Okay. 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Nice work. Okay, I'm gonna take the towel out. Go ahead, bend your knees, and let's just do a quick review of the clock, all right? So put your hands onto your pelvis and find your belly button. That is your number 12. Okay, walk your hands over to your right hip. That's your ASIS, and that is your number 3. Walk your hands down to your pubic symphysis, your pubic bone. That's your number 6. And walk your fingers over to your left hip. That's your number 9. Now, reach your hands behind your booty and find your sit bones. So I kind of have to dig in because I have a lot of extra stuff back there. Now, those bones are like the bones that when you sit on bleachers at like a sporting game and that's what gets sore, okay? And that's right where your thigh is, where your bum meets your thigh, right? And so when we go into our 12 o'clock, I like to imagine rolling a marble towards the belly button, and therefore your sits bones tilt towards the back of your knees. And then you'll reverse that. Tilt your marble, have it roll over your 6 o'clock, so your pubic bone down towards the floor. And then 12 o'clock, you're rolling that imaginary marble towards your belly button and your sit bones turn towards the back of your knees. And then the 6 o'clock, that marble rolls over your pubic bone down towards the floor. And then find just a resting neutral, okay? And then I call this the hip slip. So you're going to bring your left hip towards your left ribs and then the right hip toward your right ribs. Okay, I also call it a DJ spin, like if your pelvis was a record on a record player and you'd just be turning the record back and forth. So back to the clock, your 9 o'clock hikes up toward your left ribs, center, and then 3 o'clock. So my hips are still on the floor. Now try pressing your feet into the ground and having your feet help you do that turn, turn, turn. Great. All right, bring your right leg out so your knees and thighs are even, but they're not touching, okay? And flex your foot a lot. This is keyhole leg, right? So if you had a key on your heel and you put it into the keyhole, you're going to turn it to the right and then internally rotate. Okay, so it's happening from the thigh bone, like we did in the beginning standing. You were spiraling it outward and then spiral it inward. Now, it happens from the thigh. Rotation starts at the hip, okay? And try to do this action without moving your clock, right? Just like we were doing standing, practicing. Good. And now plant that foot down and we'll try the other leg, okay? Heel, key on the heel. And then keyhole external and keyhole internal, okay? And for some of us, now I'm never concerned about range of motion here. We all have different hip structures and hip mobility. So try not to judge yourself on how much rotation you have. Good, okay, plant that foot down. Take your right leg and cross it over your left thigh. Okay, and this is called crossover. Hands can just be down by the side or wherever you want them. And then plant down into your left foot and you're going to pivot your knees over towards the left. Okay, now try your keyhole here. You can keep your knee bent or straighten it if that makes more sense to you. All right, so when I externally rotate that top thigh, my whole side waist just whoosh, opens up, okay? And then when I internally rotate, like the fabric, I'm doing that DJ spin, that hip hike, right? And then we're going somewhere with this. So that space, I can even use my hands to help rotate that thigh open. And if you keep going, I feel a lot of opening happening even in my back along my QL and stuff. Okay, so this is the sensation. You're reaching your right hip away from your ribs. Okay, that's the sensation we want when we do any type of sideline work, right? And then exhale, plant your left foot down into the mat to come back up. And then we'll do that one more time. Okay, so float your legs over to the left, right? And then it's like you're pressing your hip away from your ribs, opening up that space. Exhale, plant the left foot down and come back up. Uncross and recross for the other side. Okay. So plant your right foot down and you'll start to let your knees float over towards the right. Okay, and then you can play with your keyhole here. Okay, the floor kind of gets in the way, so I have to kind of pick my foot up. Right, I don't know if you can see this, but here's my internal rotation. And then here's my external, right? And the external feels so good in this space here in my back. Okay. Oof. And then plant your right foot down to pick your legs up. So this is our twist in single leg circles, which is where we're going next, okay? So it's the hip that moves the leg without hiking it, okay? And then coming back to center. Nice work. Straighten that right leg out. Left leg comes up towards the ceiling. Okay, you can hook your hands around the back of your thigh, bend and straighten your leg a couple times. I like to point and flex and do circles with my feet. Ooh! And every time it's like, oh, have I ever done this before? It feels like I haven't. All right, so we're gonna take 3 with individuating the leg from the pelvis, and then we're gonna do 3 with the twist and the hip lift off, okay? And then we're gonna reverse it. So, all right, you're going to take your leg across the body. Keep your hips down on the mat. Okay, I call them your headlights. And then as you open your leg to the left, your pelvis, your clock stays still, right? So here is individuation, an important skill of moving our legs separately from our pelvis. Good, now let's take your hip off. So do your crossover. So plant down in that right leg, take the hips over towards the right, and then as you open the leg to the side, your pelvis stays still. Okay, over. And if the twist doesn't feel good on your body, that's totally fine. Just keep your hips still. Last one in this direction. Okay, and then we reverse. So let's individuate. So keep your pelvis still as the leg opens to the side, and then the leg comes across the body, hips stay level, I forgot. Okay, now as you open the leg away from your body, imagine that marble is being rolled to the opposite hip. So as I open the leg to the left, the marble rolls towards my right hip. So it kind of creates a little counter action. Okay, now the hip can come off. So down around, the hip does your crossover, then the leg follows. Yeah. And then try not to hike the hip as you come back. One more. Legs are heavy. Nice work. Bend your knee in. Okay, you can hold onto your knee and shin. Take it open to the left, and then really, like if you're standing on the floor, really press through that right foot so you get that opening in the right hip tissue. And then we'll take a crossover if it feels good for you. And then look, take your hand onto your left knee, take the knee across the body, look towards your left hand. And you can go as far as feels good. Okay, so come with me here. We're gonna keep rolling. So I'm gonna keep rolling. So my left leg is staying bent and I'm on my belly. Okay. Elbows can be on the floor or you can be here, all right? And then try and straighten that left leg out and bend it back in, okay? Now, if this is uncomfortable, you could use that towel under your pelvis, okay? And good. And if you would like to, you could come up to your hands and take this like swan thing, okay? In burlesque, we call this slutty up dog. And then you can lower back down, reach your right arm out, and we're gonna roll back over, okay, to our backs. And if you're like, I don't know where you're going or what you're doing, that's okay. Just do your best. And it's not the Pilates Olympics, right? Straighten your left leg, right leg into your chest. Okay? And then you can lengthen it and lower it a couple times. And then you can circle your ankle, point and flex, point and flex. Ooh. All right, so 3 individuations and then 3 with the hip. So take your right leg across your body to the left, hips stay still, down, around, and up. I'm taking these kind of slow today so I can really control the movement. One more. Good, and then now take the hip, do your crossover. That takes the leg over to the left. It swims down towards the center, and then you do that cross action, that counter action as the leg opens to the right. Marble rolls to the left. Last one. Good, and now reversing. So 3 with the pelvis staying still. And remember, there's that tool, that stability tool. As your leg opens to the right, the marble counter rolls to the left. So that left hip is having little to no movement. Good, and now we take our hip with us. So the hip is what takes the leg across the body. And then you maintain the integrity of the space between your right hip and your right ribs as the hips come down and leg comes up. Last one. Nice work. Bend your knee into your chest. Okay, and you can take it over to your right armpit. Left leg really reaches out like you're standing on the floor or the wall below you, just to get that left hip tissue to open. Take the leg across your body. Okay, so it goes towards the left. And then twist and look at your right hand. Okay. And then we're going to keep rolling. Keep rolling, 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 rolling. Okay, so now our right knee is out to the side. Okay, and if you're on a different leg, so what? Okay, and then straighten the leg and bend the knee back in. You can be on your forehead, okay, or you can be up on your elbows for a little bit more of a stretch. Good. All right, and then straighten your leg. We didn't do this on the other side, but you can kind of rock and roll around. Okay, bend that knee back in. If you'd like to, you could do your up dog here. Yeah. And then your left arm will come out straight. Right arm is underneath your shoulder. And then you'll roll onto your back. Okay, bring both of your legs up towards the ceiling. Now, if this is a stressful position, feel free to take your block or your towel and place it underneath your sacrum or a squishy ball, okay? So this is quite nice. Now, point and flex your feet, right? And this is actually an inversion. So this is the quickest way to down regulate your nervous system, okay? Is feet overhead, hips lifted, and so the blood is now, which normally goes the other way all day, it's rushing to your brain, okay? And it creates safety in the body. So we're just gonna concentrate on our inner thighs a little bit more here. So externally rotate. And then let the legs open wide. And then staying externally rotated, you'll bring your legs back together. Great, now we'll add a crisscross. So you're gonna cross one leg over and then switch and open. Okay, so continuing there, open and closing, and then you're adding that crisscross. Now, I talked about our inseam. We call it the crotch web. All right, well, Eva does. Eva's my mentor. And so it's not just your feet doing the work, your whole web is connecting to bring the legs out, and then the web are spreading. Right? So that whole line of tissue, it is quite literally a web of tissue, right? And when we have strength and length in our inner thighs, our pelvic floor is supported, our hips are supported, our knees contract better, and our low back is supported. 2 more here. Nice work. Keep your legs open to the sides. Oh, I know. And then circle your ankles. Okay, and reverse those circles. Now bring your legs in just a little bit. If your knees are bent, fine. Okay, little circles here for 8, 7, 6. Keep reaching through your web. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Reverse. 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Legs come back up. Eek, eek, eek. Bend your knees. Plant your feet onto the floor. You can take that block out. Nice work. Okay, let's do a little slant board pelvis. So hands come to your thighs. Your heels are about So when I put my hands down, I can touch my heels, right? So the farther away your heels are, the harder it is, okay? And so I'm going into my clockwork here. So 12 o'clock, I'm going to reach my sit bones towards the back of my knees, and the pelvis starts to float up. I'm still 12 o'clocking, 12 o'clocking, 12 o'clocking, 12 o'clocking, 12 o'clock. Okay, I'm gonna fill the gap, F-I-L-L, between my 9 o'clock and 6 o'clock with my forearms and press my forearms down into my 3 and my 9. Okay, my right hip and my left hip. Inhale, bring your arms back overhead. Exhale, pull your knees over your toes, and then you get to 12 o'clock even on the way down. So your ribs will land one low backbone at a time, and then the pelvis. Hands come back to the thighs. Exhale, 12 o'clock. Okay, now we're coming into hip extension. This is the open position of the hip, right? And your main hip extensor muscles are your glutes and your hamstrings. That's the whole backside, right? So to do your 12 o'clock, you're not necessarily squeezing your butt to do it, right? So it's more the front body. And then as the hips start to lift, yeah, your glutes are going to be recruited, okay? And then maybe there's a change in the front of the hip tissue and then rolling down. Good, this just feels so good in my body. Last one. 12 o'clock, rolling up. Bring your hands overhead. Roll the hips down by 12 o'clocking. Great, bring your hands down by your sides. You can walk your heels a little bit closer to your booty. All right, now piston. So we're gonna pick our right foot up and then plant it down. As you step that foot down, the left leg picks up. All right, so the bottom, your shin is just super passive. Okay, this is also individuation. So we're learning how to move our thigh bone without moving our pelvis. Okay, great. Last one on the left. So something goes down for something to come up, all right? And then let's roll up into your bridge again. So 12 o'clock, rolling all the way up, okay? Now, do your pistons here. So you're just floating your thigh bone up, but notice you're not bringing your knee all the way back so your pelvis changes, okay? And then you plant that foot down to lift the other leg up. And all the while, that marble inside your pelvis is staying nice and still in the center. Good. One more on the left, or even yourself out. Okay, and then we're gonna 12 o'clock to roll down. 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Good. All right, and then again. So 12 o'clock, roll up. Okay, I'm going to pick up my piston, my left foot up towards the ceiling. Okay, now, as I lower that left leg, I'm gonna 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock. So then it's not my back extending, it's actually the front of my hip. Okay, we want that true hip extension. So 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 12 o'clock. Okay, so we're not arching our back to lower. It's a rotation, it's an extension of your hip. Good, last one, lower the leg. Go ahead, bend your knee, bring your foot underneath you. Take your other leg up. Now as you lower, 12 o'clock a lot, and then lift. Yeah, my glute on that straight leg is working. Okay, and so is the stabilizing leg. Let's do two more. 12 o'clock to lower and lift. Last one, lower the leg, drag the heel underneath you, okay, and then roll down. Hug your knees into your chest, and you can rock side to side. All right, now we're on our back, and if you have a block, cool. This is called spine lift, okay? So you can just do it with your ankles crossed with nothing between your legs, but for me and my body, the block is so helpful, all right? So I'm just gonna give you a view here, okay? So right ankle's over left, hands are down by your side. Now we're on a raft, on a pool, all right? So if we press down into the raft, we'll get water onto the raft, right? And we want to stay dry. So squeeze center into your ankles, and then you'll just lift your toes to go straight up, all right? So try to avoid using momentum like that. Okay, now try it again and lift your head. See if that's helpful. Okay, so it's that 12 o'clock, low belly, and I'm thinking up to go up, not down to go up. And again, 2 more. Nice job. Uncross free, cross ankles. So if you find it more helpful with your head up, so be it. You can also have your head down. Okay. If we were on the mat or on the carriage of the reformer, I'd have you holding your handlebars here. Good. 1 more. Whew. Great job. Okay, take that block out. And if we have, can I get a thumbs up if we all have a roller, or if you have a roller? No, okay. Okay, do you have a ball, Regina? Perfect. All right, so you can either use your roller or a ball. This is roll over into fish. Another Kathy Grant thing, which we typically do on that spine corrector, right? So I'm gonna lie down on my back. I have both handy just in case, my ball and my roller. And lift your hips. And the tool, the prop, goes underneath your sacrum, your pelvis, okay? And if you have a roller, your hands will be on the roller, okay? And then legs will come up towards the ceiling just like we did before, right? Now, lower the legs a little bit and 12 o'clock. So the lower you take your legs away from you, the harder it becomes and the more 12 o'clock you need. And then exhale, lift back up. 2 more. Inhale, really challenge it and see if that action can happen by the opening of the front of the hip tissue. And I'm like trembling. Exhale, lift. Okay, so it's not your back that's doing this. It's that hip extension we've been working on pretty much the whole class. Okay, now we're gonna take this into rollover. All right, so do that spine lift we just did, 12 o'clock. Okay, you can press your hands down, take your feet overhead, your knees can be bent, okay? And then as you roll down, reach your sacrum to the end of your mat, like you're gonna overshoot your roller, okay? And then you lower your legs, and as you take that 12 o'clock, you're going to come to the crown of your head into an extension, okay? And then you tuck your chin. I'm gonna lift 1 leg at a time because it's easier on my back. Okay, big exhale, spine lift, 12 o'clock, rolling over. Okay, and then rolling down, reach your sacrum, overshoot your tool, land with control. Okay, as you deliver the legs down, keep 12 o'clocking, and then you come into this extension. Okay, you could lift both legs at once or 1 leg at a time. 1 more here, exhale, roll up and over. And then rolling down, I kind of have to keep control of my tool, okay? Lowering the legs, delivering, 12 o'clocking, and then coming to the crown of the head, snaking back up. Nice job, bend your knees, okay? And if you're on the ball, okay, you'll plant your feet down and just start to rock your hips from side to side. If you're on the roller, you'll just do a little tick-tocky here on the roller so it gets into that tissue in your thoracolumbar junction. Whew, a lot of big words, huh? So we all have this, it's kind of like a kite shape of tissue on our back, which is that big word I just used, thoracolumbar junction, and a big culprit for low back and hip stuff. Great job. Plant your feet down. You'll take that tool out, roll down, and then come onto your side. So I'm on my left side. Okay. My left arm is out. My right hand is in front of me. Okay, now I'm gonna DJ spin. I'm gonna hike that right hip towards my right ribs and then press it away. So when I hike my hip, right, I wanna truly side bend, All right, so here I can tell by my waist on the floor when I'm pushing away, okay, there's space there. When it's like taking a bite out with my right hip, okay, then my left side waist connects to the mat. Okay, now lift your knees and then lower. Knees lift, lower, lift, lower. Great. Now straighten your legs and take your top arm. If you need a head prop, totally fine, or you can just have your head hanging. Right hand is still in front of your heart here, okay? I have my bottom hand on my top shoulder. So it's gonna I'm gonna just keep awareness with it, right? Now use your top arm and you're going to, whoop, straighten your arm. Side tricep press. Very hard. Now, if you need to bend your knees, totally fine. You can use the leverage of your top elbow, or your bottom elbow, to kind of help lift you up. Good, we're gonna shoot for 4 more. Now, if you have any kind of shoulder stuff, okay, just go gently and don't worry about getting your arm all the way straight. I said 4, right? Gosh, I regret that. And then 2. Good, on this next one, we're gonna stay up. All right, so straighten your arm. Woo! Little pulses in that elbow for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Straighten the arm all the way and then come all the way back down. Nice work. All right, I'm gonna use my bottom arm for a little prop here. Go ahead, lift the top leg and we'll sweep it forward, point to press back. I'm having to navigate all my tools around me. Good, if you want a little bit extra, you can come up onto your forearm, okay? So here again, we're hip flexing, and then we're 12 o'clocking to make our hip extend even more. So it's just a subtle 12 o'clock. So it doesn't go into your back, okay? So your containers are still organized, if that makes sense. Good. Okay, and then let's go into hot potato. So bring your heel to the front of your mat, externally rotate. Internally rotate, tap your toes to the back. External rotation, heels front, and toe tap back. Make these pretty rainbows. Good for 2 and 1. Good, and then reverse. So toe to the front, heel to the back. Toe to the front, heel to the back. Toe to the front, heel to the back. Last 2, last 1. Nice work. Okay, so those inner thighs that I've been talking about all day, all right? You're gonna take your front foot, place it onto the floor, right? And then your back foot, I'm trying to make it more dramatic so you can see the space there, okay? And now you're going to press up onto your forearm, lift your hips, and then lower it back down. Okay, this is the first level. If you want the full thing or added enhancement, okay? Whew. Straighten your arm and then come into your side plank. You could do a reach here, okay? And you can lower your hips. And 2 more. Nice work. Last one. Okay, and then take a twist. Rotisserie. All right, so your ribs are moving around your humerus, which is your arm bone. So that arm bone stays still. And then you're just twizzling. 1 more. Nice work. Go ahead, bend your knees, sit your hips down, and let's take a stretch towards this way, towards your right, my right. I'm stretching towards my right. Nice job. Oh boy, I could keep you guys here all day. Yay, said no one. All right, so starting all the way over, let's come on to our right side, okay? And right arm is out. Left hand is on the mat in front of your heart, right? And then just do your little hip lift. It's not as dramatic on this side. So I'm getting a true side bend. Okay, so it's like you're taking a bite out of that left side waist. Therefore, the right side waist connects to the mat. And then when you open it up, there's a little space, enough room for a mouse house to be underneath that right waistline. So here we are again. This space is what we want. What we were doing in our crossovers in the very beginning. Good. Now lift your knees and lower. Knees lift, lower. Knees lift, lower. And try not to rock back. I just caught myself rocking back. 2 more. Nice job. Straighten the legs. Take your bottom arm. If you need a block underneath your head, go ahead, grab it. Okay. Left hand stays in front of your heart or top hand. Your bottom hand comes to your top shoulder. Legs are straight. Okay. So, and you can play with where your hand is or wants to be. You're going to press down through that top arm. Okay. And I have my hand here so my shoulder isn't swallowing my neck. Okay. And then you bend the elbow down with control. These are really hard. You guys are doing great. And to really and truly get the tricep to facilitate, that's the back of your arm, your elbow has to extend completely. All right, so we're probably like, oh, my elbow is straight. And then you look and it's kind of not. All right, so to really get that tricep to work, we need to straighten the elbow all the way. Let's do 2 more. Let's, Hillary. And last one. Now bend your elbow, little pulses here for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Straighten your arm all the way and then lower down all the way. Nice work. Okay. Keep that banana shape of your legs so the feet come towards the front edge of the mat. Find that space between your side waist and the mat. Lift your top foot. Leg comes forward and then you point and open the front of the hip tissue. Maybe there's a little 12 o'clock there for you. Okay, forward and back. So I could just swing my leg around all day and get way behind me, all right? But that's changing my back. I want the yumminess and the effectiveness, the juicy part is getting that hip extension, right? And so when your hips start to not extend, that's when it goes into the back. Phew. Last one. Good, and then let's come into some hot potatoes. So heel to the front, toe to the back. Heel to the front, toe to the back. For 3 and 2. Now remember, we're trying to keep everything still. Good, and then reverse. So toe to the front, heel to the back. This is just like our standing hip work, right? We're trying to keep the pelvis and the spine totally still and individuate the leg from the pelvis. Last one. One more for fun. Nice work. Bend your knees and then come up. Hopefully I didn't forget anything on that side. Nice job. Okay. Legs will come out into a straddle. Now, if this is like a stressful place for you and you don't have your straight spine, you can bend your knees or sit on a block or a pillow. Okay. All right, so hands come behind your head. All right, and we call this laterals, so rib isolations. You're going to isolate your rib cage to one way and then come back center. So I'd like you to feel your sit bones here. So I kind of had to pull my bits apart. Okay. So the breathing is exhale, center, inhale. Exhale, shift, center. One more, inhale. Exhale, move. Inhale, pause. Exhale, move. Good. Now we'll take it into a lateral. So shift your ribs, side bend from there. Okay, now you come up from the opposite hip. Hip, waist, ribs. Laterally shift and then continue side bending. And then it's the opposite hip. So my left hip, waist, ribs. One more set like that. Shear to the left, whatever direction, but I'm going to the left. Okay, and then it would be my right hip. So it's that counter action again. Good, one more. exhaling, and inhale to come back up. Good, adding on. All right, so elbows will come narrow. Turn and face your left knee. Now, round forward. You'll lift your front elbow open to where we just were. Take your bottom elbow and you're going to scoop and lift up on the diagonal. So now you're facing your right leg. Okay, and then you forward fold, open your front elbow. Okay, so you're high, show me your heart. And then sweep your bottom elbow up and then run your abs up the front inside of your spine to come back up. We'll do that again. Rolling over, front elbow lifts, bottom elbow comes under, abs run up the front of the spine, so you're coming up on a twist. Last time to the right. Open the top elbow, bottom elbow spirals. Great job. Go ahead, bring your feet together. I call this prayer foot. Okay, and we'll take one more subway head here. So just nod your chin and just let it drop. One more big breath. And then we'll do your straw breath to restack. So big inhale, running up the inside, straw, laser beam, helium balloon. And you guys are all done. Finite. And you can unmute yourself if you'd like.
That was great stretching.
Oh, good. Good. Thanks, Susan, Regina, Karen.
Thank you, Hillary.
Anne, great to see you, always. Any questions?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good. I love it, Charlie's Angels. We all knew what that meant.
Right? I know. I used a a typewriter cue the other day, and someone was like, "What's that?" I'm like, "Oh, here we go."
Can I ask a question?
Yes, of course.
Of the clock, 12
Mm-hmm.
o'clock, 6 o'clock, I know, but for the last 30 years, I thought the 3 o'clock and the 9 o'clock were in the opposite positions, as if the camera's on the ceiling.
Oh, you know what? You're right. You are right. I was wrong.
Oh, okay.
So your right hip is your number 9.
Okay.
Left hip is number 3.
Okay.
Well, thanks for asking. So now I'm aware.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks, ladies.